Here come old flat top, he come grooving up slowly. He got juju eyeball, he won holy roller. He got hair down to his knee. Got to be a joker, he just do what he please.
What's happening, everybody? Good afternoon, good evening. Uncouth Radio, we are in the house, and the house is packed. I got my co-host, the beautiful cookie lady, the incomparable Jackie Chandra, by any means necessary, and I'm black, y'all, Mr. Ron Wilson. We got Q the Rebel, and voting early, Mars is in the house. We wanted to give y'all a good, quick, informative show today. I know a lot of people have hit me in the inbox asking if we could go through and explain some of these propositions because, me and Quincy have talked about this on the show before. Some of the wording of those propositions can get a little tricky, and you can end up voting on something that you think you're voting in the affirmative and you're actually not. So we wanted to go through and kind of simplify some of these things. So when you have time, when you go to the voting ballot, you can kind of have a little knowledge of what you're doing. You also can have your own little cheat sheet of what you need to vote for. So we're going to get into that. And a little later in the show, we're going to get into the DonMaga. The DonMaga Ice Cube and what's going on and what came out today in regards to him meeting with the Trump campaign and what they're talking about, what they got going on. I want to get the thoughts of my panel. We'll get into it and see if we can get into a little bit of nuanced conversation about that. And if we have enough time, we'll see if we can bribe Chandra into giving us a DM, because we only get a DM when we behave, which ain't often.
I got plenty. So if y'all ready?
Okay, so that means we need to fly through the show. Look, ready?
We ready.
Well, if I make it, y'all got one. If I make it, y'all got one.
I know, because that's the other problem. Your internet be like, nah. So, all right. So the first prop, we're gonna go, and these are the California props, people. I had asked people if you were out of state or somewhere else, send me the props you wanted. Nobody sent them, so I just got DMs from people in California. So we're gonna go through the main California props, and that means all of California, y'all. So not the local ones, not just the Compton props, not the LA. We're going through all the main California props, ladies and gentlemen. So the first prop we're going to go through is Prop 23, kidney dialysis rules.
Wait, you're not going to do them in order?
Yeah, I was wondering.
That's not in order. What's the order?
14.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Research.
I'm sorry. I started on the wrong.
You're trying to confuse us, Jan.
Excuse me. Okay.
Like stem cell?
So Prop 14.
14 is a stem cell.
Stem cell.
Prop 14 is a stem cell research. Cells from embryo starter kits, which are blank slates for research. These are usually lab created for in vitro fertilization.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into it. So it said what it would do, it would generate the money to keep California institutes for regenerative medicine open and expand its research capacity. And if I'm not mistaken, Chandra, can you correct me? I think it's an estimated $50 billion going into this program, or is it
5.5 billion?
Okay, 5.5 billion going into this program, and how the state borrows money from the investors and taxpayers, and they pay it back with an investment over the next 30 years. So if you want to vote yes on Prop 14, that means you want California to keep funding stem cell research, and you want to give it that extra funding boost that it's asking for. If you vote no, you don't want California to keep funding stem cell research. Can anybody tell me what's your thoughts on it? Chandra, do you think we should do yes or no on Prop 14?
Well, we broke right now, so I feel like, hey, if it's gonna help, it's obviously it helps medically, with different treatments for things. So I think it's all good.
Can you add context?
5 million, you borrow 10 million. I don't care. Go for
Can you
it.
add context, though, Chan? Because a lot of people don't know what stem cells are for. So they're just
so
right.
stem cell research is okay. So now I gotta put on my grades.
I can read it. I have it here if you
help
want.
I can
No,
help you with that
I'm
one,
just
too.
trying to summarize it. Oh, well, go
Okay.
ahead, because I don't even want to. I feel like this is like a, you know.
Okay, so basically, when it comes down to stem cells, are cells that we have in our bodies that have not been specifically assigned to do certain things. Like you can have stem cells that turn into, blood cells, or that turn into different, organs that you can develop. But it's like a base cell, and scientifically, they found a way to manipulate them to recreate whatever kinds of cells that we need. Like, let's say you've lost something from having cancer. They may be able to use those stem cells to create more cells that otherwise your body would not have been able to produce. They found different ways to manipulate them and made a lot of scientific breakthroughs. But I'm kind of with Chan's original comment. Like right now, we really could be
Broke.
putting that money towards some other stuff, but it is important research, and they really are making extraordinary advances with what they're doing. But I just feel like right now we have a lot of other stuff to worry about than spending that much money on stem cell
Yeah,
research.
we got
But
people
usually
that are
rich people are the
unemployed.
only ones who can afford the benefits of the new breakthroughs that they're coming out with.
Yeah. So I mean, again, it's all personal choice, but the biggest issue with stem cell research has always been like the religious thing. People believe that life starts at conception, so they believe that if you're using like aborted fetuses or fetuses from embryos or different things like that, embryonic cells, all that is wrong. So but as as a world that's constantly evolving, and we use science to kind of
They don't want us using little baby zombie cells.
No, I don't.
Well, my
Personally.
concern.
Oh, but I visited, I forgot what museum. I think Quince was with me, but we saw, and it was like, because they use the science, they had a embryo at every stage of development. So different thing, research is for different things. Again, my thing about it would just be, do you want the state to be more in debt for that research, for that specific portion of research? That's what Prop 14 is. Yes, you do. Debt, no, we'll handle it later.
I mean, I feel like we got dead anyway, but I am all behind stem cell research because I think stem cell research will probably be the thing that get us the closest to curing cancer.
Stuff, right?
Yeah, like for actual cures for stuff. So that's why I'm behind stem cell research. And I know Big Pharma is so against using stem cells because it is about trying to actually find cures.
It's about finding some real cures.
They show stopping the dope spot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But my concern, can I just make one comment on that?
Oh, sorry, Ron. Yes, go ahead.
My concern is that they've already been given $3 billion, and at this point, they're not showing us what the progress they've made with the $3 billion they have, and they're asking for $5.5 billion more. So I kind of look at these things from an economic standpoint. Okay, you were given $3 billion. Now you're saying you're broke. Well, what did you come up with? Like, we have some valid stuff that you can show that this was able to cure the common cold, or this was able to cure something like that. Then let's move forward. But for me, it's going to be a no.
That's a valid point.
I can't give you more money if you can't show me what you did with the $3. Now you want almost double what you asked for originally.
Yep, without showing real.
Right, without showing progress.
Some results, but not enough.
Not $3 billion worth of results.
Right. All right, so we got some people on the pros, we got some people on the cons on that. Chan, do you want to read Prop 15 for us and go through the summary?
Okay, Prop 15 wants to raise money for education in local governments. Commercial and industrial property owners would be split off from the tax formula that dates to a 1978 Proposition 13. A yes vote support a constitutional amendment to require non-agricultural, commercial, and industrial properties to be taxed based on their market value rather than their purchase price. And a no keeps it the way that it is. So basically in 1978, they allowed anyone who owes cheap property or real estate to pay lower property taxes. And so now it's adversely affecting people who after that time was paying higher property taxes. So I support anything that's going to even it out. This looks like some grandfathered in stuff where we need to take a look at it and say, hey, it was 1978. Maybe we need to kind of, take a look at it and
switch up.
switch it up and make it more fair for people now who because all that those were all about this 1978. I was 40 years old. So let's
and as I understand it, that means like those big commercial buildings, say for example, just to use him as an example, a lot of those big Donald Sterling buildings, those buildings that Donald Sterling owned, he still pays the same property tax that he did in 1978 on buildings that make him tens of millions of dollars. So for me personally, this is going to be a yes for me because they need to pay their share, because this is something that's for millionaires to pay more than taxes. I know the union of what business owners was against it, or like a business owners union is against it because they say it's going to make them take jobs out of it. But I'm like, nah, it's like that's what you want to scare people with. But the fact that y'all paying the same, the fact that y'all paying the same property tax that y'all been paying since '78 on these $1 million high rises, multi-million-dollar high rises. I'm sorry. Something needs to change, and this is another way for us to get more money for education, more money in those areas, in those communities that they have these huge buildings in that make all this bread and make all this money. So for me, that's a yes. Anybody oppose this one? And if you do, tell me why. Mars, go ahead.
There is a simple fact that it impacts small businesses. Small businesses tend to have to take on the payment. Where is it?
This is large commercial property.
No, I think it also affects small businesses.
Because that's still commercial property.
But no, I'm just saying that this is non-agricultural, commercial, industrial properties. So
so specific to the
owner of those commercial properties is the one paying the taxes, not the tenant.
Right, but some small businesses sometimes have to take on those responsibilities of what is being paid. Like they're leasing it out, and they're still responsible for those taxes. And especially now going through COVID, asking them to take on such taxes, you're kind of saying no to small businesses, which then risk the heightened probability of gentrifications in certain areas.
Here's what caveat it says: businesses with 3 million or less in holdings in California and properties zoned as commercial agriculture will not be affected by the change.
Right.
So no small business
are included. So yes, Mars.
Even though yes, Mars. You damn corporate shield.
No.
That was a good 15. One, though.
Quint, where are you at? 15. Affirmative action.
That's 16.
In front of me.
16. Because 15 was that one, right?
Yep.
Okay. So basically, anybody else has it? 15? 16? I'm sorry. I don't know why I keep saying that.
Yeah, I have it up.
They're basically trying to get rid of affirmative action.
Well, they already did.
They're trying to repeal the.
All right, so I'll do 15. You said 16, right?
16.
Restoring affirmative action already happened in 42 states. It wouldn't create racial quotas in university admissions, but what it would do is allow universities, government offices to factor in someone's race, gender, and or ethnicity in making hiring, spending, and admissions decisions. So vote yes if you want California to allow affirmative action again. No if you want things to stay the way they are.
I'm black, y'all. It's a yes.
Come on.
Well, if you read that, black people tend to get turned off when they say when it talks about people would consider race when hired. It's like, oh hell no. But actually, and that's the tricky part in that. Because when we see anybody considering employment or schooling, anything that's based on race, that's an automatic turnoff. And the way how that's worded, I think most people would actually vote no if they actually
vote. I had to read it twice.
Yeah. Hey, I read it more than twice. I was like,
wait a second.
Because that's the trick.
Well, you know what I do? I read the cheat sheet first and the non-political language, and then I read it like, oh, this what y'all fools trying to do.
Right. The reason why you want them to consider race and everything else is because now they have to keep data of it.
Right. Milestones.
Yeah. And so when you have to keep data of it, I give a prime example. My former police department, they have only hired 5 black women in 20 years. There's never been a black female that promote in the department history. Let's put that. I want to put that in context. Long Beach PD is the third largest police department in LA County, after LAPD and the sheriffs. LAPD just promoted their first African female deputy chief. We know female black female sheriffs, that's sergeants, that's lieutenants, captains, etc. So here's the third largest police department in LA County, and a black female never promoted. And in the last 20 years, they have only hired 5.
Yeah, and some of that's probably because they have no accountability for that data, right?
Because now no one they don't really have to keep see, you would have to know it to know it. Like you would have to
be in it to know it.
Yeah, be in it to know it.
Right.
Because if you're not in it, you're not going to know it, because they're not obligated to show that, to show proof of that. So when you look at a city that hosts 60 to 70,000 African Americans, according to the last census, and only 30 black people like work in the department, that should be alarming. And now people can actually bring that to the forefront, because they would have to keep track of that.
Right.
So
what's the population of Long Beach, if you don't mind me asking?
Last time I checked, it was like 500,000.
Okay. Right. So we're about 13% of them almost.
Yeah. Like yeah. So it was something like 500,000.
Gotcha.
So Long Beach is just an example, because I kind of know pretty much. But that's just a small sample when we talk about. I just using policing when we talk about we need more of us to police. Dane was in a meeting with me when a background investigator said he had 50 black applicants that was qualified, and the department only hired 1 person out of 50 black applicants. So under something like this, that information will have to be documented, placed in a database, where someone, if something goes down, that stuff could be subpoenaed in court, where there's some record of that. Because what they've been able to get away with all jobs is hire people and say, "Oh, we don't consider race," but then when you ask for that information, well, we don't keep track of that.
Yeah. Right. That's the get out of jail free card.
Yeah, we don't keep track of that because there's nothing to tell them. Well, now under this, because you gotta keep track of those numbers, this will hold them accountable. So I know how the wording is funny, because anytime we see people say, "Well, we gotta consider race," that's normally
a red flag for us. Yeah.
Work well for us, but in this situation, we want that, because now there's going to be a paper trail to it. Oh, because there was, I remember the moment they took away affirmative action, black enrollment in UCs dropped big time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So that
and Cal States.
Yeah, and Cal States. Black enrollment and Cal, black acceptance into Cal States and UCs dropped big time. Now we want to bring it back to where, like, you got to keep track. Like, you telling me out of all the black kids that applied to your college, only 15 was qualified in the state of California? So that's the type of stuff we want to keep track of. So I'm definitely a yes on this. But I can see, because I had to read it multiple times. I was like, the moment you see somebody considering your race, your sex, you like, no. That's normally no for us.
Yep.
But under these circumstances, we want that, because we want a paper trail of that.
And we also want to make sure, and this is just with all the propositions, who is opposed to it and who likes it. If who wants it and who doesn't, because that makes a big difference too.
Yeah, like which unions back it. Like I was looking at the ones that the teachers union back, right? Looking at the one that the Black Women's Voter League back. The Black Women's Voter League is like my number one. my number one like propositions, like the Black Women's Voting League and the Women's Voting League. Those are the ones that I kind of look to.
Yeah, because Black women tend to have it together when it comes to political.
To policy, to actual policy. Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck Black men.
I know people like to call Black women emotional voters, but they really are not. They really they really are like
what they going to do, they Black women going to gravitate towards things that's going to benefit us all.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a lie. So
exactly. All right, so let's go to Prop 17. Prop 17 is
pretty much cut
let
dry.
Let parolees vote the release of a prisoner, so they get to vote before the completion of their whole parole. Anybody oppose it?
No, I think a good argument
only
that they were saying was, hey, if you're working, you're paying taxes, you should be able to make decisions. You should be able to make decisions just because you know, who knows, you made a mistake. Okay, but you're working. You have a job, you're registered, you're doing what you have to do, you're on the right track. You can't always assume you're on parole, so you just completely effing up. So no, it should be, they should be given those rights. It's just another way to voter suppress, because they know people
I feel once you serve your time, you served your time.
Mm-hmm.
And just because I mean, it's not like after you serve your time, you're no longer affected by laws.
Right.
You're no longer affected by people's decisions, who elected officials' decision, etc. So I definitely think once you serve your time, you paid your price, it should be over with, and you should be allowed whatever right that you had before you went to prison, because it's the reason why they say time served. So, just because you out on parole doesn't mean they still don't expect you to pay taxes, like Chandra said. Doesn't mean that whatever laws passed, you're not affected by it. So, yeah, they definitely should have a right to vote.
And it's an exorbitant amount of time. Some people could be on parole 5-10 years. So,
yeah.
So what, you just still paying for your mistakes, whatever.
But like Chandra said, this is a voter suppression type deal, because they know the majority of them convicts.
Yeah,
I apologize. Ex-convicts are not going to side with the party,
with the system.
Back to 1985 marijuana laws.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So that's pretty cut and dry, like you said. Now, Prop 18 is Prop 18. It's Prop 18. Like if you want people to vote. If you're gonna turn 18 anytime before the next general election, you can vote at the age of 17. And I think this should be a yes, because wouldn't it suck if you are a huge political voice, you are highly involved, and you turn 18 right after the presidential election, and now you got to wait 4 years for your voice to be heard, and you would have been 18 in that calendar year. So this is a yes for me.
We had a heavy debate in my family about it, and it was.
Is that me?
Chan,
I can hardly hear you, Chan.
Probably me.
Yeah, I tell you should have went where I went in that house by that curtain.
Yep, that's because
I think this one's like a sword.
It doesn't matter.
No, it cuts both ways.
You use your phone. Our argument was just we were split, because some people were like, "Hey, I earned it when I was 18," but it was more so the people who wouldn't have been 18 during that time. Like, so you know how you're like, "Oh, well, you go to Vegas when you're just before you turn 20." Like, it was more of the haters that because of their birthdays. But like,
it's more the people like, well, I didn't get to vote till I was 18, so y'all can't vote till y'all 18 too.
That's the early in the year people, the January through September people.
Aware, you should totally be able to participate if you want, because it's not necessarily going to be, imagine you can't vote in the primaries, but you're voting for president. I mean, if you're politically
that's a great point.
Go for it. Another voter suppression act, because they know young people are going to vote liberally. So
yeah,
Abdullah made a great point then.
Abdullah.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the point that Abdullah actually made, because Abdullah said, well, people can see it on the screen, that he enlisted in the army at at 17, so you should be allowed to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing because you have to register, not register, but you have to go to selective services and fill out the little card. I had to do it during my senior year. So if somebody turned 18 and they have to register for selective services. So for those that don't know, selective service, like if a war was to break out and they was to bring back the draft, whoever that kid is would have to, be eligible for the draft. So if that's happening, why not allow that kid to still vote on whatever laws elected officials that could potentially in the next couple of months make laws and create laws that could affect them. To me, it's not that complicated.
Right. Yeah, Manisha had a good point too. She said if you could take out 5 digits worth of loans for college at 17, you should be able to damn vote.
Hell yeah!
Like if I can get in debt and I can enlist in the army, I should be able to vote. And I agree with that. And again, because I know the Republicans were against it, and the Republican argument was most of the kids at 17 still live at home. That's a kind of a terrible argument to me anyway. Most of them still live at home, and they are under their parents' influence, so they don't have their own mind when it comes to voting.
Well, we know what the Republican motives is. Republicans, I mean, and they haven't been shy about it. They straight up said, hey, if it ever comes down to the popular vote, we might not ever get a Republican president. So Republicans already know the higher the voter turnout, the less chances that a Republican is going to get elected. And that's why you're seeing all this rapid voter suppression going on right now. So whether it's convicts, whether it's teenagers, they don't want nobody voting.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chandra.
They only want rich white men voting.
States that already allow it.
Yeah. All right. Let's go on to portable property tax. Prop 19, ladies and gentlemen, portable property tax. Now, property taxes are based mostly on the value of the home when it was bought, not its current market value. Now, in California inherits property, they can rent it out for what a house costs right now and still pay the taxes based on when it was purchased. What it would do is allow Californians 55 years and older to keep their tax break when buying a new home, and let people that inherit a property tax keep the break only if they live in it. That's the part I don't like. This would encourage older people that are empty nesters to free up and get more homes for families, right? Like if you have an empty nester, most empty nesters end up moving into a condo. When they had a house full of kids, they end up moving to a condo. So it's saying the older people will be able to keep their property tax if they move into another place. And whoever inherits it, if you inherit a property, you can keep the property tax, but it can't be a rental property. You have to live in it. Right. So I'm on the fence with this one. Let me know what y'all think.
What were you gonna say, Dan? Because this is one that's really important to, especially to Black people who inherit properties. Now, the majority of us don't have the wealth accumulated enough to be able to use that property as a rental. There are some that are on the fence that can, but the majority of us have to use it as a primary residence, or they end up selling it. So from that perspective, we have to kind of look at this as a whole and say, okay, who are the majority of us poor people? What are we doing with the property we inherit? Normally we sell it, but the key is that you do want to maintain that property tax rate. I'm living in a home, for instance, that's under this actual rule. So as be it that I'm living in the home, I can keep the tax rate based on when it was purchased back in 51. So you know what that means. I mean, and it sounds more personal, but I also want to look at it from a whole, at all of our people, not just me. I think because we're more poor, this would be useful for us to maintain, because we won't lose them. Now, unfortunately, a lot of us don't have it, so we immediately sell. I would like to reach out to Black people. We need to figure out a way where we can start helping reinvest to people so they don't have to sell these properties. They can keep them and kind of do what they want. But for me, I'm going to stick with it. And a yes would maintain the existing law, correct? And that's what I'm reading. I was kind of torn on this one because the wording is a complete mess.
Yeah,
The
I'm
wording
torn
was
on
a
this one
complete
too.
mess.
Well,
So
I was saying that yes, because I do think that it's more of a benefit to us, like you were talking about, Ron. Just like interest rates when you're financing, when it's owner occupied, you always have a cheaper rate than something that you're using for a rental property. And if you're financially at a point where you're able to have a rental property, I'm sorry, I'm not as sympathetic. If they
Right.
have to pay a higher tax bracket, then then a tax amount, then I don't think that's the end of the world because you have an extra property. It's not like you're going to
Right.
lose the house that you're living in behind this. So that's
Where's
why
Brandon at when
I
we need him?
support it, because it was one of those things that was really, I'm glad that they specified, especially with seniors 55 and older. It was a loophole that was catching a lot of them to their disadvantage, to where they're in a house. They might be in like a $2 million house now, and they're getting the lower rate for owner occupied. They try to get a second place to downsize, but they wouldn't qualify for that same
Right.
kind of rate yet, because technically that's a second home if you still own this first one while you're making this transition. So this will make this a little bit easier for them to be able to downsize and not have that harsh penalty put on them. So I definitely support it. And I think
So when
that'll bring a lot more money back into our economy that rich people have been able to get away with not
right.
paying.
Right, they'll take advantage of it, rich people, because they'll figure loopholes into this. But the yes then
Put in
Dame
their
would be
kids'
helping
names, say
more
their
poor
kid is
people,
living here or
correct?
something.
I think that's what we got, Dame. A yes would be helping more poor people.
that's what it seems like. So that's what it seems
Yeah.
like.
Right.
Like a yes means you
Not
want seniors
poor,
to.
not poor, but just not as wealthy as others. I don't want to
Yeah,
use the word
yeah. So
poor.
it says a
And
yes.
elderly.
Yeah,
Right.
yes vote. You want the seniors to be able to keep their lower property taxes when they move and change laws around inherited property. So yes, because that means most people, if you inherit property, your property tax won't rise to the value. It'll be the same property tax as what you inherited. So yes,
Wait a second, that's a no,
And
actually.
that
Wait a
money
second.
would
And the way I'm
specifically.
reading it, the
Oh,
poor people vote would be a no.
Mhm.
Right. Now that
well,
I'm
no means
rereading it,
you just
see,
no.
no means you want to keep it the way it is. No means you just want to keep it the way it is right now.
Yeah, it wouldn't benefit you to put no if it's poor people.
okay, see, and this is what Quincy was talking about. This is how they word this shit. This will definitely get people caught up on.
Yeah, because a yes means you want seniors to be able to keep their property tax when they move. And if I inherit, like you said, you were like an inherited property, Ron, right? So
Right.
if you're in an inherited property, as long as you stay in that property, you will get your tax break. Now,
Got it.
if you're somebody who wants to have an extra property, if you move out of that property, then your tax will go up to
Based on the current market value.
on the current market value because you moved out. Now it's a rental property.
Right. So this is also a thing where, do we want to stay poor, or do we want to learn ways to reinvest and make
Exactly.
money?
That's why I
So
say it's
this
pros
is a
and cons
tough
to
one
it.
here. Right.
Yeah, it's
Right.
pros and cons to it. So, because if
Right.
you want to stay in the home and just keep your family home, like you want to keep grandmama house, your rental property taxes will stay the same as it was when it was grandmama house.
Right.
If you and the family want to take grandmama house and y'all want to make it a rental property so the family can have
Airbnb.
some extra wealth for Airbnb or just a rental property or something like that, now your property tax is going to raise to the value of the house. Now, also, a lot of these houses that we are in, even if the property tax is raised to the value, it's still not as big as the property tax in the rich houses in the rich neighborhoods
Correct.
as well.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean? So for me, I feel like it could be beneficial both ways. Honestly, it could be beneficial if it stayed the same, but I think it'll be beneficial. It'll be beneficial for those
For us
older
currently.
people. Yeah, for us
Right.
currently, because the older
For our
people who
current
want to
standards.
leave. Well, also
Right.
because if the older people want to leave and keep their property tax, that'll give them incentive to actually leave, and then that will also open up, like Sheila was saying, open up more houses on the market
For younger people.
for younger families to come in and start buying, which will
And
also
on those richer properties, with the money that would be coming in would also, especially in California, be something that was specifically earmarked towards the towards the fund for the wildfires and stuff, because this is not a problem that's going away. We're having these issues and they're getting worse every year. So that's something that we don't have to short out our budget. That's money that would be specifically earmarked to go. Those funds would go specifically towards battling the wildfires.
Right.
So it seems like it has
It's
more
a tough. It's a
benefits
tough.
than-
Right.
And
It's pros and
yeah,
cons to
none
this.
of it is going to be usually 100% peaches and creams, but this one seems
Right.
to have more benefits than disadvantages.
To us right now. It actually
But-
benefits us now. Once we gain more assets and equity, then in the future we can change this. But right now, I think yes, it makes more sense for us because we're poor, we're broke as a whole.
But doesn't it also seem like it keeps everyone stagnant in one area? It prevents moving
Right.
out.
You're right, Morris. What prevents
I don't
generational
agree.
wealth from being incurred?
Because
most
Sheila,
people
if you're
should.
staying,
Go ahead, Morris.
if you're staying in your same spot, you have your same property tax. But let's say you want to move out, better neighborhood, such and such. You're paying that property tax, that market rate for this year. So it's a decision of, okay, I want a better environment, better schooling, such and such.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to necessarily go because I want to stay in this area to pay this fixated property tax from whenever. So it's almost like a hindrance.
It's a catch
Well,
22.
no, because you're only considering the money that's going out. Likely, if you're moving away from this property to go somewhere to a better place, you're still going to be renting this property out and earning income from that property. Some of that's going to have to go towards a higher tax rate, but you're still going to have money coming in from renting that property out. It's not like this is just money that's going out of your pocket and
Right,
there's
total
nothing
loss.
that's coming towards you. So you are still moving forward financially by being able to have the house that you'll now be living in and keeping this as a rental property. It just won't be as cheap for that reason. That's why they charge more on the interest if you try to finance any kind of a mortgage for that property, and they charge more on the taxes because they understand that this is something that typically you're going to be getting income from. The only way that it seems like it would be a complete disadvantage is if you just left the property and nobody was in it.
Right.
And you just had it sitting, then that's where it seems like it's really just a big disadvantage.
And that's where I'm kind of leaning towards, because if you don't have that financial advantage and you want to move out, it's almost like you're selling that property to gain a new property, but then you have that handicap of that higher rate where it would make sense for you to kind of stay where you are if you don't have that financial flexibility.
Right.
Well, I don't
This
know.
will be
Is the
based on
higher rate
people's
that
income.
much more drastic to where it would just really penalize people in a
Oh, yeah.
situation?
Right.
To
Well, let
where
me give you an
even if
example.
you're making money off of a rental property like that, I don't know.
Let me give you an example. The house I'm in was purchased in 50 something for about $50,000. It's currently worth about $450,000. So
Right.
that tax increase would be a huge tax penalty if it was based on the current market value. Based on what it is currently now, it's almost overly affordable.
So
but
what I'm
it also is
saying
hindering us from putting tax money into the system to help the school district in Compton, to help the street crew in Compton, so it's kind of, like I said, it's a catch-22. It just kind of
So what
depends
I'm
on
saying
what
with your same example though,
Yeah.
let's say, okay, you might be only paying, let's say $700 a year in property taxes on that place. You
Right.
decide to move, even if that increases to like $3,000 for a year for property taxes. When you rent that house out, even if this is like a 3-bedroom house or a 2-bedroom home, that's your rent that you'll be charged. You'll make that back in rent money in like 2 months, and the rest of the year you're still getting your income from people renting it out. You're talking about paying your taxes once or maybe twice a year. It's still not going to compare to the amount of income that you would have coming in from that property.
Well, the difference is $700 to $7,000 a year. It's
You
about
saw
10
it?
times. It's about 10 times the difference. So it's going from $700 a year to $7,000 a year. So obviously you can make it back, but that's a huge cut out of your income.
Right. But even with the $7,000 a year, like I'm saying, if you're still renting this place out, it's not like you're going to be renting it out for $1,000 a month. You know what I mean? If you're making a couple of grand, you're still going to make that back. And then you also get the benefit of other tax write-offs from that
You're
rental
right.
property.
You're correct.
So
That makes more sense. You're right.
like it's not 100% a win, but it's not 100% a loss either. You still, if you're in a position to where you're able to own a rental property that you don't have to live in, you still have the potential to gain more from it than.
That was the key. That was the key in which you said if you have the capability to have a rental property, but not everyone's going to have that capability to go and get a new home, then hold on to one.
Yeah.
For a rental.
I would say
property.
most of us don't have
Right.
that
So
option.
then don't, if you're living in it, then this isn't even an issue for you because your taxes stay the same.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true. All right, so that one is depending on what
Yes.
you want, guys. It's a yes or no, depending on what you want and what works for you. Next is Prop 20, crackdown on crime.
You know what that means.
Hated it.
Dog whistle.
It's a mini crime bill that
Arrest black people.
is just another way to kind of
Arrest black people.
Oh, okay, I'll read it.
To get more
Preliminary period of freedom for recently released prisoners after the completion of their sentence for crimes like shoplifting, carjacking, arson, vandalism, theft. It would give prosecutors new flexibility to charge some property crimes of more than $250 as felonies rather than misdemeanors. Increase penalties for former inmates who violate the terms of their supervised release by 3 times. Require law enforcement to collect DNA samples from people convicted of certain misdemeanors to be stored in a state database. Double the number of felonies that disqualify prison inmates from being able to apply for early parole. If on his head, this would be good if we felt like justice would be served.
It would actually be right. We know
damn well.
We all know how this is gonna go. It'll be more black bodies into their prison complex for slavery to get their cheap labor, and that's really all this is about.
Well, I guess
if we actually had a prison system that rehabilitated people, then I could even understand that. But we already know we're looking at a prison system that's been failing. If it was working, we would have less crime after all these years and all these.
From reading this, we know what the 19 whatever crime bill dilemma was. Like,
well, yeah,
we want to cut back on it, but what at what cost? Like $250 turning that into a felon? Like, what are we doing? Like,
Chandra, I was going to make that point because there's parts of this that I do like, and that's the DNA because I won't ever forget. It was this dude who was catching women by themselves, slicing their throats, and sexually assaulting them. And what he would do is he would find women who lived or worked alone. And how we end up catching him was after and the bad part, well, the good and bad part, he didn't kill anyone because he didn't know how to slice their throats. But imagine having your throat slashed and you live through it. So these women went through the throat slashing and the sexual assault. What ended up happening that they gave us a description. And so they was like, hey, he meant because they said what the women was saying that he had like, like the Halloween teeth when the teeth is like real messed up and people put them in, wear them if they like Jerome or somebody.
Yeah.
That's how one woman like described his teeth. So an officer was just having a casual conversation with a guy that had messed up teeth. And he was like, well, he was really nice. So what he did, he was like, well, we just, you kind of messed the description. I don't think it's you about something going on, but do you mind if we have a DNA sample? He was like, oh, no problem. Like, okay, guy really nice about it. And it takes DNA to get back to you. It's not, they don't move as fast as they do on TV. And after a few months, he turned out to be the guy, and he had moved to Vegas.
Wow!
And there's no way we would have known that without that sample. Another situation, I get behind the car, I run the plate. The plate says your worst nightmare as a police officer. Wanted 187 out of Compton. I was like, oh, shit.
Wow.
And I'm by myself, and it's 2:00 in the morning. This is one of those times where I was like, should I just make this right turn and keep going? So I was like, well, I called for backup, waited for the helicopter, the whole dog and pony show occurred. And called a guy out the car. Long story short, his brother, when his brother went to jail and they took his DNA sample, his brother used his name.
Oh, wow.
So he told me that was the 4th time he was pulled over with guns out and stuff like that. And Sacramento gave him a paper to say, hey, this is not him. And the reason how they figure out it wasn't him was because through the DNA.
His brother, grimy as fuck.
Yeah.
Man.
And his brother was in Mexico. So
was his name Kane?
But they was able to separate to figure out he wasn't his brother because of the DNA samples and things like that. So, but it's one of those things where this was the dilemma with the crime bill, where you had crimes against women, sexual assault crimes, all this other stuff in there in this big old gumbo of fuckery of crime stuff that some people had to vote against, some people vote against it. Me, I would vote against this one for one thing. I don't like the 250. When I was a cop, grand theft, a felony, and they call these laws wobblers. And a wobbler is a crime that could be a felony or a misdemeanor. Right. So if you steal something that's under $400, it was a misdemeanor. If you go above $400, it was a felony. And I know, like, there was some talk where, like, and it's a kind of the same thing with vandalism as well. So 250 is really like is pushing it, and they would be crowding a lot of jails with if they lower to 250. I think maybe 500 is probably a good range to keep it, 400 or 500, but
cell phones are like $1,000.
Right,
so you know,
$1,200.
like cell phone, that's a felony.
Well,
the cell phones are obsolete now because they're locked. So even if you steal them, you can't do nothing.
I mean, it would be over a felony anyway, because right now I still think grand theft is like over $400, $500.
Yeah, that was 500. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but 250, just you know, I mean, people shouldn't be stealing anyway, but
right.
Nobody should be life should be ruined over anything.
$500.
Well, again, like you said, like to me, the issue is if these laws would be executed correctly under the law, then I probably would look at it different. But because I know that it would disproportionately affect us in a certain manner, and we will disproportionately be targeted by these laws like this, that's why it's a no for me personally. And
the number one target would be our kids, because we still got dumb kids who still at 19,
dumb shit, right?
Yeah, 19, 20, who be stealing stuff.
Right.
And they don't think, they just thinking they just, okay. They
used all this subwoofer for what?
Yeah.
You even got a car.
Or walking to Nordstrom, don't realize they just stole a $300 dress.
Yeah.
Right. Now, you got this young lady that's catching a felony who's not a bad person, who's just making dumb, immature decisions, who now has a felony, who now can't apply to go to college because she can't afford financial aid because she got a felony. It's just a whole little connection, domino effect of this. That's
yep. That, like, again, agree, like Quincy? I said, that will always disproportionately affect us. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Quincy, would you agree that, like, if they would just make the judicial system fair, we'd be okay with tougher on crime? But because we see how disproportionately they deal with us, we're like no to everything. Yeah, just treat us fair. Like, I mean,
well, because tough on crime becomes code for arrest more black people.
Exactly.
Right. Like that's the issue. Tough on crime, even the way Trump uses it, even like when you hear tough on crime, is always code for arrest black people in urban neighborhoods. Right. Yeah. Tough on crime is never about when white people started smoking crack, when white people became big in the opioid crisis. That language is not used.
No, let's get help to them.
The biggest prime example of that is you had our FBI, Trump FBI, said the biggest threat to this country are white supremacists that are domestic terrorists.
Right.
Our president and
Fake
administration
news.
acknowledge that. It's not
Yes.
Fake news.
It's not. You go down the list. It's not Mexicans coming over the border.
Not Muslims.
It's not black people.
It's not black people. It's not the gangs in Chicago. They said the biggest threat to domestic terrorism in this country are white supremacy groups, and that's not what.
And you never hear the term "tough on crime" used for them, right?
Never.
Right.
And,
Those are good people, Dan.
And you literally just had these bastards plot to kidnap a governor and kill him.
And even when they got arrested, they weren't called terrorists; they were called a militia.
Yeah,
like even the language used, even when
vigilantes.
But the governor of Michigan called them domestic terrorists because that's exactly what the hell they are.
Yeah. So that's why I'm against Prop.
Yeah,
20.
definitely. Yeah. But that's why it's so important that now, since now we understand how the systems work and we vote. And you see, it's something I found out. I know we kind of going off the topic real quick, but something I found out that was just startling. In this country's history, all right, in this country's history, only 64 times where a federal judge who was appointed wasn't selected. In this country history, under President Obama, first 4 years, 79 was denied. In this country history, 64, that have only happened 64 times. But it happened over 70 times under President Obama, which led to, while all those vacancies, Mitch McConnell purposely left all those vacancies open.
So they could fill them.
And the only thing they have filled them with is old white conservative men.
Yep, and one black woman, one black Trump supporter.
Yeah, and that's why now it's so important. And I've stated this before. It's 900 federal judges total. Obama, I think, selected 345, something like that. Right? In his 8 years, that's how many he was able to get through. Donald Trump is already past 200. And so that's why they I mean, this is truly what they did was packing the court. You want to talk about pack the court? That's what they did, pack the court. So if you want to not get these little dog whistle crime bill things not passed, it's important that we get elected officials in there that's going to appoint judges that's not going to that's not going to
affect us adversely,
impact these laws, because we talk about the crime bill, but what we don't get in depth about the crime bill is that when dude was going to jail for stealing pizza at Venice Beach and getting
3 strikes for that, getting 3 strikes
and all that, a lot of those judges came from the Reagan administration, came from the Bush administration. You remember in California, we had Pete Wilson. Pete Wilson was the one that implemented the 3 strike law here in California.
Yep.
So we forget California. I told Dane, I said, hey, when you actually research it, California really became liberal like 2010.
Yeah.
California haven't been this big liberal state. I mean, we elected the Terminator.
Yeah.
and the 3 strike law wasn't amended here until Gary Brown came in office. That was 2012. So that's why I go back. This is why these elections are so huge when you talk about the judges and all that, because when you think about it, it still boils down, whether the crime bill worked or not, it still boils down to that judge to say, hey, this dude does not deserve 25 years to life for stealing the damn pizza.
So they have discretion, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
But Mitch McConnell, that's why Mitch McConnell has strategically picked certain people, because the conservative movement is slowly dying, believe it or not. If you look at the polls, Most people are against Roe versus Wade. I mean, for it. They don't have a problem with it.
They're against it being reversed.
Hey, most people. Hey, a lot of people love affordable care.
ACC. Yep.
A lot of
they need it.
people agree that there's systematic racism in the system, like the majority. But what they did was, and Chris Cuomo said it best. Chris Cuomo said, "Look, they see that their ideology is dying out, so the only way to keep it alive is take over the courts."
Right.
So
now we can force you to keep our beliefs.
Exactly.
Even though the majority of the country don't believe it.
Because think about it. What do we teach our kids? Majority wins.
Right.
Majority have
America.
When it comes to Republicans, majority doesn't really win. Because 30% of the country won't vote 70% of the country, like, we ain't tripping. Women should have the right to dictate their body. Like,
and why is that even a question in 2020? Like why are we still making decisions for women?
Trying to satisfy the evangelical base.
Right, like why?
Let's finish the rest of the propositions, you guys, because we still want to discuss Ice Cube.
But to tie that into this point, this is why this type of bill, this type of stuff, this is why it's a domino effect to the judges and people who are selected by the other folks that we vote for. So,
Thank you, Quincy Pence. We appreciate it. You just went right over the moderator's comments.
I know.
Anyway, but you had a great point. No, you had a great point. He didn't have a great point, so he didn't need that.
Let's go.
Right.
As long as a fly don't fly on my phone.
Right.
I'm talking.
Mother, what would you say, Mother?
All right, let's get to Prop 21. Rent control. Some cities have their own rent control laws, but their power is limited. Now there's a state law that caps yearly rent increase at around 8% for most housing. Rent control equals government programs that places a limit on the amount that a landlord can demand for leasing a home or renewing a lease. It would allow cities to expand stricter rent control for property more than 15 years old. So yes, if you want cities to be able to expand rent control, no, if you want to keep things the way they are. Let's go.
Poor people, yes. Rich people, no.
Pretty basic.
Yeah.
Right.
Pretty basic.
Yeah.
If the landlords want it, that means we don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We can move on.
Whatever the opposite of the landlord.
Or the rich people, right.
But then there's a homeowner that has an apartment.
There we go, rich folks.
No, not always. Not all rich folks.
I'm joking with you. Us trying to acquire wealth, right? What Mars?
Well, I mean, I just think of it in terms of San Francisco. Like, the crisis that they're dealing with right now is that it's so expensive to live there that the working class can't even afford to live where they need to work. And that's where we're heading. Like, they're trying to make LA that way, and this
heading
is
my ass. Inglewood is there
to protect us from that.
Yeah. They're already doing it. Inglewood. One thing I don't like is that you have this old woman who's been renting out this place for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, because of the infrastructure and you decide to build a stadium or whatever, now you up her rent and you put her in a predicament to where she can't afford
to move.
She has to try to move, and
to watch.
It's been standing there for decades.
Right.
That's the part I don't like. Me and Chandra actually know somebody like that where they was living in the house very comfortable, and the folks just decided like, oh, we're gonna bump the rent up on you. Matter of fact, you need to get out.
Right. And they'll pay you to leave too.
Yeah.
Here you go. Here's 6 months of your rent back. You can have it. Get out. Now we're going to charge 5 times the existing rate.
So rent control is always
kind of tricky about the wording on it. Is that it says you can't increase the rent more than 5% plus inflation, but it's like saying plus inflation kind of leaves it up in the air because who knows how much the inflation is going to be. So if they had flat 5%, I would feel more comfortable about the way that they structured this proposition.
But they left it kind of open-ended for you.
Yeah,
they gave you some loophole. They gave you some breathing room. Yeah, and we've seen rent control go out. Like rent control been crazy in Inglewood already. Like somebody said, like we've seen it, and some of them some of them apartments that should be no more than like $1,000 a month. They damn near at condo prices. They damn near
2,500.
Yeah, 2,500 for some of them 2 bedrooms in Inglewood. So yeah, definitely I want to rock with yes for rent control. Next this is an interesting one,
right?
And I know a couple of you guys have done Uber and Lyft and all that. So gig workers benefits. Gig workers in this context, workers that work through apps such as Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash. There is a bill in effect now that forced companies like Uber and Lyft to recognize their drivers as employees. The pros, benefits, and protections like insurance and insurance and benefits,
workers' comp, all kind of shit.
Workers' comps, but the cons is it takes away some freedom and autonomy that drove people to this job anyway. So it will release the bill, but guarantee drivers a minimum level of compensation and healthcare subsidies. So a vote for yes, you want gig workers to be independent contractors. Yes, if you want them to remain independent. No, if you want gig companies to treat and pay drivers like employees. Go ahead, Chandra.
I lean on the drivers.
Yes, all the way. Most of the people who do it, myself included, when I was doing it, and occasionally it's definitely for extra money. I've had drivers who I've talked to about it because it's been in effect in a while. There's since last year, and most people, it's their second job. They have insurance elsewhere. It's a very, I think, small majority that are doing it like full time. Because when you do it full time, you got to work 12 hours. It's a lot. So it's a personal choice for me. I'm as you know, I would definitely say yes because you're doing it for the extra money. Like, and then if I can do it whenever I want. If I felt like 3 a.m. I couldn't go to sleep, I turn on my app, go make me some money, But if you telling me now, yes, the benefits are workman's comp, all that, and such and such. But also, I have to work during a certain time. I'm an employee, so you can tell me I can work 8 to 5. You can tell me, you can set that kind of defeats the whole purpose of it being an extra job. So I think maybe they should give them the option. Like, I'm going to go on it as an independent contractor. I want to go on as an employee and have a certain amount set. I don't know. Maybe they can figure that out. But like one guy I met, he said he was only doing it until he was able to pay for his daughter's last year of college. He's like, after I make $10,000, I'm done, because he had a whole nother job. So most people I met have those stories. Most people have done it. They do it because they want that extra freedom and time to do it. For the small majority of people that can't or are doing it as full-time jobs, yes. And also, yes, that will kill the industry. I think it will go up because then now you guys will have to take on the cost of the workman's comp, the medical. We do get discounts on medical care, all those things, dental, vision, all those things you get discounts on that you would be paying if you own the business. So we're not talking about that yet.
Like what?
On 22, unless I'm doing a lag. I don't know. My might be working. So.
No, we're not there yet.
Okay. So yeah, that's my take on it, y'all. I think a lot of people just ask their drivers, "Hey, what do you guys think?" And the majority of people are
right.
So
see, I was going to say no, Shan. I was going to say no, just based on the fact I thought I was helping Uber and Lyft. I want to help the drivers.
You want to help the drivers, so you say yes. You want to help the drivers, so you say yes.
Well, the crazy thing is because like you said, even if you say you want to help the drivers, Ron, in California, Lyft and Uber said we'll just leave, because that's not our business model. Our business model is not to make everybody employees.
Right, so they don't have to stay. They don't have to stay here
because they had already started sending out alerts like, "Yo, if this bill goes through, we're leaving Uber Eats, DoorDash, like all that. So all those services will leave."
Wouldn't that open up for small people to open up another service?
No, because if they do that, no, it wouldn't, Ron. Because if they do that service, they have to provide those benefits.
They have to do that.
Then they have to provide
which is affordable. I mean, we do know Uber and Lyft, like we've seen their business model. They don't have any overhead, so everything is profit for them. Now again, I'm going with the drivers, which may benefit the company as well. But because I was going to say no, but then I'm like, let me hear from drivers to hear, to see what, because I can't make a decision for something I'm not involved in. I want to let the
main thing that the drivers will want you to look at is, are you using this as extra income or are you using this as a full-time job? And if you're using it as extra income, which most gig economy workers are, then you will want to vote yes, because you want to stay an independent contractor.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, I think that people they're just basically trying to have it both ways, and you can't. Either you're going to be an independent contractor or you're going to be an employee, but they're trying to basically structure it to where they can work as an independent contractor but get the benefits of being an employee. and it just doesn't
But
work
there's
out.
also they also offer plenty of things, medical insurance. They offer plenty of things through all of that you can pay at a discount. Like I said,
That stuff we don't know, Shan. We don't know
Still
that
not
though.
the same as working as an employee. Right.
It's not the same, but you're not. That's what you're choosing to do. If you
want a job, get a job is what.
If you want it, if you want that, then go.
If you want a job, get a job. Sure.
Yep.
Right.
Is she doing flips in the back?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. She like, look at this. Got Simone Biles going here. Shit, we want to be in the Olympics. That's 2020. What? 32 or 28? I
don't even want to think about it. All right. What's the next one we got up, Chan? Go ahead and read it.
The next one is 23.
The dialysis.
And that's the dialysis. Clinics. It basically, United Healthcare Service workers are dissatisfied with the standards, and they want it to make the standards better, which on the surface, of course, you want better standards. You want, dialysis clinics to have as the best standards as possible. But if you vote yes, it will require clinics to have at least one physician on site at all times, report patient infection data, and obtain consent from the health department before closing the clinic. Of course, that would be great. If you vote no, you wouldn't have to, you would oppose having the physician on site and the reporting and all that. Believe it or not, people are saying that it's bad because it will close more dialysis clinics. They would say that, when you require more strict restrictions, then like having a physician and all those things, then they're not going to be able to keep as many open as possible, and they wouldn't be able to help as many patients as possible. So that's one of the oppositions of it, voting no.
Can I speak on this one?
Stephanie says voting no does not help dialysis patients at all. We will never be without a facility for treatment. But don't believe these companies. They need to be regulated. So she says that they need to be regulated. Speaking from somebody with experience.
Right. I was just speaking from because I was just saying I'm speaking from a person. My mother died from kidney failure, so this is something that's sort of personal to me, and I kind of wanted to see what others who are utilizing these services, because as we've probably noticed, if you look in our communities, the Vitas and the other companies like this are popping up everywhere. So this just shows you how poor our health is, because like you only see these in lower income communities, but we're seeing these places like brand new facilities. Like, damn, like they're like 7-Elevens, which I had read years ago was going to be popping up everywhere. But we had no clue about the Vita. I'm like, well, wait a second. What are they promoting? So it's good Stephanie spoke on this to kind of give us insight from those who actually use the facilities. Just like the last one, I'm going to go with the people who actually use them, and I'm going to vote like their interest. Because currently it's not. It's just something that affected me in the past. But this is why we need this show. This is very important to go through these little nuances and differences in these propositions.
It's a little deeper than that too, to where this is also going to include unions, to where basically all these DaVitas and stuff, they haven't had any accountability for the way that they've been running these facilities. So this is going to put all of that accountability in place. Yes, it is going to mess with their bottom line a little bit, but not enough to where the drastic measures where they're trying to act like they're going to have to shut down all these facilities. I
won't get my care if you
they can run them more efficiently, have checks and balances in place. Allow their workers to
people are dying on those machines.
Still make a nice profit, because there's something like from back in the 60s where they found a loophole. That's really why you see all these. It's not just our bad health. There's a loophole they found to where they get government subsidies because of something that like FDR put in place. Like it was from like 1 trillion years ago, where this one specific type of treatment is something that they can get government subsidies for. So that's where they figured that game out, where that could be automatic money. And then once they made sure that they built a monopoly in and just went crazy with it. But yeah, I have an uncle, whenever he comes down here to visit us from Vegas and stuff like that, it's such a nightmare dealing with these dialysis centers down here. Things are so poorly organized. And I'm saying, why is this something we had to ask you to do? There's a part of the proposition where they talk about having to report like infections and things like that. Why is this something we have to ask you to do? Are you serious? Like,
Right.
stuff like
You have to have a licensed person on site while you're transfusing blood.
right. Like a lot of
You
this
should
stuff
have
is
that.
appalling. That is something that we even have to ask for, but apparently we do.
So I can go get a job and do this without even having a light. Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah,
But
regulations are always good. They got to start somewhere.
right.
Right.
You're on mute, Dame. You're on mute.
Thanks. I said let's get to these. Oh wow, she said RN is the highest staff member at these dialysis.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Okay.
And we
Okay,
know some
so
of these
let's
RNs,
get through these last two quickly. I ain't saying nothing. More data privacy. There's a data privacy law that passed in 2018. That means the people that propose it believes it needs change. It would change California's data privacy by letting you tell businesses to limit the use of sensitive data such as location, health, race, and religion. Prohibiting businesses from holding on to your data for longer than necessary.
Yes, and
allowing
yes.
government to excuse me. Creating a new state agency to enforce the privacy laws, investigate violations, and assess, reducing the number of businesses that have to comply, making it apply to companies that buy and sell data of at least 100,000 households per year. And we know data is big business.
Of course.
It's big business. So if you vote yes, you want to change the California's privacy law. Vote no, you want California privacy laws to remain the same. Yes, because we need more regulations on our privacy.
Yeah,
period.
the yes is going to change it by enforcing an expanded version. So putting all that stuff in there. So the yes gives us like more protection on our data and make more protection on them disclosing that they're going to sell our data.
Now this is an interesting one
from an IT standpoint. Yes.
Yeah.
Don't even read anymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
From 25 is an interesting one because people have been on both sides of this, and sensible people have been on both sides of this. So I've been interested in having this conversation with you guys. Abolishing cash bail. Now people that have been convicted of a crime have to pay an amount of money decided by the court in order to be released until the court date. If people can't afford this amount, they sit in jail until the court date. Could be months, could be years. And they borrow money from a bondsman who usually asks for it with interest, which is super predatory. Those bondsmen are hella predatory. I've dealt with them before. So it would eliminate cash bail and replace it with the algorithm to assess a person's risk for not appearing at trial. And that's the tricky part. And I think that's the part that gets tricky for people is assessing risk. Yeah. So yes, you want California to switch from cash bail to risk-based algorithm, or no, you want to keep the system as is, or you're waiting for a better option. So for me, this is a yes, because I know cash bail affects us adversely. Cash bail affects so many black people either stay in jail or you do the cash bail and you lose the collateral that you put up for the cash bail. Like well,
you lose it anyway, right, Quincy? Like if you pay bail, you don't get it. If you pay bail, you don't get it back.
Even if you found innocent.
Yeah, even if you found innocent, you don't get it back.
You don't get bail back. Yeah.
And we know that cash bail works for people who have money. So you could commit the most heinous crime and get out if you got the money, and you can commit a misdemeanor and be stuck sitting in jail because you don't have bail money. You know what I mean? So for me, I want to get rid of the cash bail, because the cash bail affects, again, I'm looking at things that affects us as a people adversely. Disproportionately. Yeah. And
if these were Obama judges, yes. If these were Trump judges, no. Because it's leaving the discretion up to the judge. These are Trump judges.
Hey, Ron, and to me, that's the scary part about this.
Right.
Because I've really been going back and forth with this one, because, cash bail, you have dudes. Now, I mean, what they say, you're innocent till proven guilty, right? You have dudes sitting in jail 2 or 3 years waiting trial, and the only reason why they can't get out because their family can't afford bail. So if you're innocent, you're still in jail for months and years. And even if you get out, the damage is pretty much done to your life, and you were found innocent. The scary part,
Browder.
The scary part is that anytime you we just talked about the whole situation with the crime bill and judges and their discretions. That shit gets scary.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that somebody would have a strong position to appeal. Once again, why we need to vote so we can also get them appeal courts. But the Ninth Circuit, which is the circuit on the West Coast, is one of the most liberal appeal courts there is.
That's good to know.
But for example, we talked about that $250 bill, right? You get some kid, 19 years old, do a jello ball move where he decide he want to take some glasses.
Right.
If his family can't afford that bail, he will be sitting in jail until his trial is over. Whereas that white kid that raped that girl behind the trash can,
he out tomorrow.
Or today. He out tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that well, he was out there, like his parents bailed him. So that's the issue. But I think that there is a stronger argument that you can make. Like he didn't hurt nobody. This is a non-violent crime.
Right.
And now, I think that's a lot easier to argue versus you have these family black people who basically sitting in jail because
they just can't afford bail.
They can't afford bail.
And another, they're saying that they spend $5 million a day detaining people who have not been convicted of any crime in California. $5 million a day. Didn't we just ask $5 million for stem cell research?
Right, $5 billion. Yeah. No,
$5 billion. Okay, well, have a spend it for a couple days, multiply that or divide it or however you get it.
Right.
And you got the money. Like, we need to figure out how to actually utilize some resources in the proper way when we're talking about budgeting. And this is one way, because like Quincy said, that the guy that murdered somebody and the guy who stole a pack of Bubblicious from the store and they decided to press charges, you spending the same amount of money on them in jail.
Yep.
Keeping them in jail for however long their trial is going to be. And that person
would this discretion include, Quincy? Because it's saying it's at the judge's discretion, but let's say a black person doesn't have a passport. That limits their ability to try to run, correct, or to jump bail, as they call it. Yeah, so if they had some stipulations, maybe we'd be with it. But this is too vague.
Well, see,
to Mexico.
The prosecutor would have to give an argument,
right,
of why this person has to stay in jail. Correct. So the prosecutor would have to argue, like they do it now. When you up for bail, the prosecution be like, Your Honor, I don't think he should get bail because he's a flight risk. Blah 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 blah. And then your attorney argue back that no, my client is not gonna, leave, blah blah blah, and these are like more serious.
Some really bad math right there.
When you talk about somebody who got caught with a whole bunch of weed or whatever, there's no reason why somebody on some drug charges who didn't hurt anybody should just be sitting in jail because the family can't afford it. Whereas you got, the dude that kills his family of 6 in Malibu, who was able to bail out, and he could potentially kill again.
Right.
He might go finish off, his white family.
The rest of the family.
Yeah.
Right. It's like that story we just heard of the dude that married a chick. He was in jail for murder and then got out and killed 4 people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Right. Yeah. So that makes sense. Yeah. We don't trust Trump's judges, so that's a no.
That's a no. No. So we want to change. So yes, we want to change the cash bail system, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's get into the DonMAgaCube. Came out today and said he has been working with Donald Trump on his platinum plan, and the Twitterverse is all awry. But I know that Ron agrees a lot with what he's saying. So Ron, set up what you see from Ice Cube and what you think. Go ahead.
Damn, I usually go last on these because
can I go? Because
you can go. Go ahead.
I'm emotional.
Go ahead. You're emotional. Ladies first.
I feel like this is all a manipulation. We are thinking about Cube, who made Fridays. This is our man who was militant. The Cube back then is not the rich man that we are looking at right now. People change with time and with money. He is trying to get Black people to jump on board with something that is going to benefit him as a rich man, because he will benefit from all those tax cuts from Trump. The platinum plan, I cannot dismiss it. It's an amazing plan. We need to gangster up, take that platinum plan, and punk the Democrats into pushing it for us. Because what we're not going to do is punk the Republicans into doing it.
Wait. You said wait. Hold on.
Hold up.
Right.
It does not matter what he
Sheila,
promises.
I want to correct you.
If
You
you
said
got somebody who lied like a crackhead.
Hold up. I
I'm
want
sorry.
to, because you said the platinum plan is amazing. That's Trump's plan. Well, you talking about the platinum plan?
It's not a bad plan. Trump's plan was not a bad plan.
But Cubes is the black
is
contract
shit.
with America.
That platinum plan is not good.
Yeah,
That
platinum
plan is
shit.
garbage.
Cube's plan is the black contract with the contract with
Yeah,
Black
and
America.
Biden plan
I'm
is
sorry. I'm talking about the one that Cube had. I thought
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
that's
contract
what-
with Black America.
Trump on.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
contract with Black America.
So that's not okay. My bad.
Yes.
I'm mistaken for that, right?
Yeah.
That's
Like Candace Owens
But
on
what
here.
I'm
Candace
saying
Sheila.
is, it's like he's acting like he's working with Trump on this, like Trump is gonna keep his word on any of it. This dude been lying like a junkie ever since he's been in office. And if he was serious about doing anything, he could do some of this stuff now, even if he didn't do all of it. If he was serious about doing anything for us, he had more than plenty enough time to do throw a few tokens our way and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. But what I'm not going to do is ignore reality. Like, I'm not looking at this fool who refused to denounce white supremacy. You think he really going to turn off his entire racist base to do something for us because we're asking for it? Are you serious? Like, that's just ridiculous. And I'm insulted that Cube thinks that we going to follow him on this bullshit when, like, we don't have nothing to negotiate with Trump. This is a dude who's physically incapable of telling the truth about anything. I don't care what kind of plan you try to work out. I don't care how nicely you trying to sell this dream and button it up. It's bullshit. We need to just try to force the Democrats into doing what we want and fuck everything that Trump
Force
is
the
talking about.
Democrats to do what we want. So
I
what
think
we not going to do, Sheila,
is
is we not going to
If we
disparage.
stand together, we could punk them into doing some stuff.
What we not going to do, Sheila, is we're not going to disparage crackheads. The ones in Compton are honest. So we going to, but with some serious tone to it. I get what you're saying. And I'll just be honest with you. I am completely torn on this because of the credibility that Cube built up from the beginning. But you make an excellent point in stating that Cube at this point is not the Cube from America's Most Wanted, Death Certificate, and all the other things we love Cube for. So I'll give you that point. But what I also have been preaching and will stay in this point is that from a Black American standpoint, it's in our best interest to be open to hearing both sides. We've been on the Democratic ticket at this point well over 50 years, and our situation
I don't think the internet's agreeing with you, Ron.
economically has not changed.
Internet always
Am I breaking
wins.
up? Can you hear me?
Ron, we losing you, sir. We losing you.
Once again, the internet.
You breaking up. Yeah, you breaking up. Go ahead, Quincy. Let me hear your 2 cents, brother.
Ah, man, what do I start with this bullshit? Why didn't we go to Donald Trump with a black plan in 2016? I mean, if it's really about a black plan, why are we waiting till after his term? Damn near his term is almost over.
2 weeks. 2 weeks before an election.
And now what? Right.
We within a few weeks of his term, with presidency potentially being over, and now we're presenting a black plan. But this is my thing with Ice Cube. Sometimes, and like Sheila kind of said it, with celebrities, you have to compartmentalize. You know, if I got a rap album and I need somebody to write some stuff for me, do I go to Ice Cube? Maybe. I got a movie I want to potentially push. Do I want Ice Cube on my team? Maybe. when it comes to discussing policies and politics that affect my life and my black people, I do not want Ice Cube nowhere near that shit. And one of the issues is you have to know how this system works. You got to know how the system works. And I think if it's anything that we all have learned from the Obama administration onto the Trump administration, it's that there's a strategic way how, if we're going to get what we want, we have to understand how the system is built. And I don't get what Ice Cube have seen in the past 4 years to make him believe that Donald Trump is going to pass anything that he presents in his contract with black people. Because like Sheila said, and like we all said when we first heard Trump plan, you don't need to wait until after the election to implement any of your stuff for black folks. You can actually do it now. Where Biden can't do nothing until January 20th, 2021. But Trump could actually implement anything to help black folks right now. And nothing will more solidify the black vote if he was to do some of that shit. So why he hasn't done it? Because he really don't want to. This is just to get black people not to vote for Biden and Harris. And we said this before, and I'm not going to stay on this part long. We said that the best move was for Ice Cube to present this at the beginning of the Democratic primary.
Right.
And let the Democrats duke it out over who's going to agree to this. Mm-hmm. Now, the issue with Ice Cube plan is that it doesn't cover everything that black folks need. We need health care. We need fair education. We need, the justice system. We need financial. And this is why when people say, well, there's no difference between Biden and Trump. Well, I disagree with that. And this is why. If something's going to change, the first thing you have to do is acknowledge that there's a problem. Me and Sheila talk about this all the time. We both, when we have our conversation, we talk about our growth. Can somebody see new information, and based on that new information, your opinion change? Because now you have new facts that's presented to you,
right?
That kind of goes against the opinion that you had before you saw those new facts. So when I look at a situation, people are like, well, Trump is this. Trump hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. But I can see where Joe Biden has changed. How do I know that? Because I've heard Joe Biden talk about how he benefited from white privilege. 1985, Joe Biden might not say that. 1995, Joe Biden might not say that.
Hell, 2004, Biden might say that.
Really?
Yeah, but here, let's just say pre-Obama, Biden probably don't say it.
Yeah.
Okay. Joe Biden has talked about racism in housing, healthcare, education, and the criminal justice system. So I got one candidate that have whatever his perspectives was in 1975, 85, 95, 2005, whatever it was, because back in 2000, me and Chandler talked this, back in 1985, Joe Biden was saying that marijuana was a gateway drug to cocaine. Well, a lot of people were saying that because I remember being in a DARE program and they was teaching that shit.
Yep.
My mama still think that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here we are now. Joe Biden.
Devil's lettuce.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, but here we are now. Joe Biden running a campaign that they're going to legalize marijuana. If you got a marijuana conviction, we're going to wipe it out the way. Like, that's completely did somebody who thought it was a gay. So I can respect someone who look at new information and data and can openly admit that there's systematic racism that exists. And to get back to the Ice Cube, I don't know how to pass anything that Ice Cube is asking for. You're going to have to deal with systematic racism, which Donald Trump administration failed to make exist.
Can I address this real quick, Quincy? Just comment. Joe Biden would have pandered to any hot topic put in front of him, and he did. I don't think at this point acknowledging systemic racism is a good hot topic for him to jump on, and something that would help him with the moderate base, which they were so trying so hard to get, right? So if we're going to use that pandering, wouldn't you say the same thing is happening now with them trying to use Ice Cube? Ain't that pandering in the same way, or ain't it pandering to put out a black plan 2 weeks before the election, even though you've been president for the whole time?
Because even with Trump, my whole thing with him in the black plan, we always talk about how there were other people, even before Joe Biden, who had a plan for Black America. That became the thing that they knew, hey, we need this base. We're Democrats. We need to get this base. We need to address this. We need to address these problems. There was problems with racial inequality and all that. They came out with something. He never did. Trump still never did. When he was trying to do, talking about pandering, he was trying to pander to those white women. He's still trying to pander to those non-racist suburban women who he's trying to say, look, Joe Biden did something for these people. I did something for these people. He was begging them the other day, please like him, and telling them, oh, look, I got them out of your neighborhoods. Literally, some of the things he has in that platinum plan was undoing things that was already he's already undone.
But I tell you why I don't think Joe Biden is pandering. He was saying that before he got into the race. He's been saying this since he was under Obama administration. So I don't think because you remember Joe Biden didn't enter the presidential race until he saw that he felt nobody else was going to beat Trump. He made that
the Charlottesville incident. He was
talking about systematic racism when he overturned the whole the law regarding the cocaine and crack, the difference in charges with that when he was VP. So, but the thing with Ice Cube is, how do you expect anyone to pass a black plan or a plan for black people who first won't acknowledge that systemic racism exists? How do we know this? Trump was sued for housing discrimination in the 80s, right? Trump just repealed a law that protected black people from discrimination with housing.
Yep.
Trump was presented with new facts that the Central Park Five did not commit that crime. He asked for them to be killed in 1988, even presented with the new information. He still stand by what he said in 1988.
Oh, let me address this real quick too, Quincy. So he said Biden was VP for 8 years and in the Senate for decades. Now he wants a black plan at 77. Come on. All right, now they were trying to implement a black plan while Biden and Obama was in office. Mitch McConnell stopped it. I've heard that Obama had one of the most intricate and best criminal reform bills and recidivism bills ever, and Mitch McConnell stopped it in the House because
a total Obama, don't even waste your time.
Yeah. So let's use some context, right? Because a lot of these things, they even Biden and Obama was working on trying to change the sentencing for black people, making marijuana
legal federally.
Yeah, legal federally. They were trying to like you said, Quincy, all the things that Biden's talking about doing now, these are things that Biden and Obama were trying to do under Mitch McConnell. So let's be truthful about it. Like, so
yeah, but that, and so that's the point. That's the point that Ice Cube failed to realize. That's why when she was like, why he's going to Trump? Trump has had the time to prove to make these things happen. He has a Senate. He could pass that shit right now. He has a Republican Senate. He could put whatever black plan, he can go to the Senate right now and say, hey, we need to get some black votes. I need y'all to pass this today. We have to wait for Biden because Biden don't take over office until January 20th, 2021, hopefully. But one thing I talk about, like not Ice Cube not educating himself on how this works, I haven't seen him push for not one Senate seat. Jamie Harrison, black dude, he putting on one of the best campaigns I've ever seen down there in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this would be the upset of the election to me if Jamie Harrison get this Senate seat. I don't see Ice Cube pushing for Jamie Harrison. Why is that relevant? If Biden does get in, if Harris does get in, do you think any black bill going to pass through a Republican Senate?
Nope.
Because if it's one thing we have learned from Barack Obama, Obama was in office 8 years. He had a Republican Senate 6 of the 8 years. Dame already gave you one example of how things that he tried to push through, they told him no. I told you about what they did with the federal judges early on during the show. So you have to understand, okay, you're going to pass a black bill. Well, the Republicans that's in office right now, they could do that right now. But you talk about, well, Democrats not doing this. Well, I don't see you also making it possible that if Biden and Harris does get in office, you're pushing for anybody for Senate, because ain't shit gonna pass for black people in a Republican Senate. How we know? We saw it happen during the Obama campaign. So I don't know if Ice Cube is at this where he wanted his way, because I know April Ryan told him, hey, and pointed it out to him like, your financial plan is actually similar to Biden's.
Yep.
And Cube didn't know what the fuck to say. That's why I was like, oh, he haven't done his research. So during that time that happened, Trump didn't even have a plan. So here we are, and I'm like, you don't really gravitate towards the people who financial plan is similar to yours, but now you rolling with the folks who just got a black plan 2 weeks ago, and they've been in office for fucking 4 years.
Well, Quincy, because I feel like he feels like they listening to him more because they taken some of his plan, but the reason they taken some of his plan because it wasn't in theirs in the first place. And yeah. I thought it was a bit disingenuous of him to be like, yeah, they listen and they tweak their plan based on mine. But I'm like, you didn't mention that a lot of your plan is already in the Joe Biden plan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And a lot of your plan doesn't mention I've seen black women on Twitter, like his plan didn't include things for black women. His plan didn't include things for healthcare. His plan didn't include things for education, which are things that's already in Biden's plan.
That's true.
So, and then for see, and this is my last point, and I'll stop because I'm getting on my soapbox. This is my thing. How can you meet with Donald Trump knowing that he has appointed over 200 and something federal judges, all white men, conservative white men? They said some of them not even qualified, never even been to trial as attorneys. And you don't vouch for a black woman or a black man to be selected by him for one of these federal judge spots. So that lets me know, like, Cube he's out of his lane, but also it's about his plan. He really don't give a fuck how good your plan is. Even if our plan is similar, who gonna implement my plan? And that saddened me because it just almost sounds like he just want credit.
Yeah. All right. Well, shit. I'll leave it at that. Unless somebody else got something to add. Mars. No. All right. Let's get to a DM. We behaved, Chandra, and even the internet behaved a little bit. So give us a good DM.
Yeah, the internet behaved a little bit. I'm not mad. Okay. Need advice. My cousin is gay, period. Then I've been dating this guy for about a year. Finally introduced him to the family. He's a wonderful man.
I know where it's going to.
Go ahead.
Y'all always do that. I get into the DM and
secret lovers.
Yeah. No, it's not that bad.
He banged him in the past.
Okay. My cousin told me he's gay. He saw him, I guess at a gay activity. I don't know how to approach my boyfriend with this convo, what to say, how to start. I'm so heartbroken. We talked about marriage. I don't know what to do.
What did the gay cousin see him do?
He said he saw him like at a gay bar, like acting gay.
I need more details about acting gay.
Yeah, it don't really matter how you acting. If you hanging out with a gay at a bar, like
do we go with
like,
the cousin in the gaydar? Like the cousin says he's gay. He has gaydar. Bar.
Like
he's wearing a rainbow. He's wearing a rainbow midriff.
I mean,
I put that in there, but I know you need that. You need that
because gay niggas be lying. They be wanting everybody to be gay. That should be ignoring. I'm sorry, they do.
Okay, you know what? I'll give you that. But let's say he is gay. Like, what do you do? What does she do?
I think she should test. I think she should put like a banana, some shit in front of him, see how he eats.
What the fuck?
Man, you on timeout.
Hey,
man. Stand in the corner, bro.
Hey, let me tell you.
You know that's bullshit.
Hey, let me tell you.
Detective banana.
If he don't break that motherfucking banana off and eat it, and he deep throat it, that nigga gay.
What the fuck?
Put your head down, man. You don't punish me.
Can she just ask him? Like, how do you ask him? Are you gay? Like, how do you do that?
No, go buy a banana. Be like, hey, let's have some bananas. Like,
well, I think what she have to do, because you can't give him a chance to lie. You can't just say, "Are you gay?" You have to say, "Hey, yo, my cousin saw you at the gay bar. What's up with that?" Because now the nigga caught off guard, and you get to see his reaction if the nigga trying to lie, if the nigga starts stuttering and flubbering. Because the nigga could just be like, "Oh, it was my boy, it was my my gay cousin's birthday party or something."
How is he going to explain the midriff? How is he going to explain the rainbow midriff?
Well, you can't explain the rainbow midriff. You can't explain that at all.
I actually made that up.
I know you
did. I think
did.
it be a combo of the two. I think you should do Quincy's banana test while having that conversation.
Ask him why he's eating the banana.
Look, hey, how about
Where's
this?
the banana? Why were you at a gay bar?
Look, you go
But
buy.
then it's like how you know 100% it was him. It could be some dude that looked like him.
The cousin is him. Okay, it's him.
Look, I had a gay homie. He had a birthday party. Me and the homies went. We was there. Don't mean we was gay.
Were you twerking on people?
No.
You went to go kick it in the
stood in the corner. We stood in we had our backs against the wall so much. It was pathetic. But look, this is what you do. What she needs to do, she suggests, let's go bike riding. You have one bike with a seat. You have one bike with a seat. The other bike don't have no seat. You went biking.
Hey, we muting Quincy like Donald Trump. We ain't got no show next week.
This is the last DM for the rest of the year.
I would say go buy the underwear. Man got a couple of pair of raggedy underwear somewhere. If all these underwear are brand new and amazing,
this is the last DM. We're not doing it.
No, but Sheila, because like Quincy said, I've been to a friend of mine had a party and they was at a gay bar and I went to support my boy. So I'm not gay, but I went to support it and I was in there like, oh, this is gay as hell. And also I had a couple of female.
Gonna be half gay, a half gay bar.
I went to a female. I had two female artists that were really big in the gay community, so they would perform at gay clubs all the time, and I was the manager, so I had to go and I had to be there. So I'm sure people probably saw me and they're like, "Oh shit, this nigga Dame is up in the gay club," but I'm literally there working with my artists. So I know those are exceptions to the rule, but I'm just saying. Maybe he was there. Maybe he was there.
I didn't know what he was doing.
It is very important to know what he was doing. If you saw him,
I guess the cousin is just going off his gaydar. I don't know. It seems like the cousin is just going off his gaydar.
Hey, look,
like he said, they do want people to be gay. So
yeah. Gay, especially gay black dudes, they throw that shit on you so fast.
Did she give any indication how long they've been together?
Huh?
I asked
a year.
So they've been together for a year. The cousin saw the boyfriend at a gay bar. Why can't? So she should be able to have the conversation with him straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah, year. Yeah.
I mean, that's gonna be weird.
Maisha, I think Maisha agreed with Quincy. So it seemed like Cuzzo being messy.
Well,
yeah, hey, he want her dude.
Yeah, and it could be that. It could very well be that.
You're like,
But,
I want this nigga for myself. So
but Sheila, I do agree. It's very important. What was he doing? Because if he was just at the club standing on the wall and you don't know if he was with some people or you know what I mean. But if you see him there engaging in activities that make you be like, oh, he's macking up on dudes and he, you know, I think there's a difference. And I do think that context and that is important. So I think the cousin should try to get that information. But you run the risk of not getting correct information because, like Manisha said, he might be being messy. So he might have saw Quincy at the club, and Quincy was at the club supporting his homeboy, and Quincy just standing there against the wall with a drink, and he went and told Quincy girl, "I seen Quincy at the gay club" with zero context, right? And then
wait, but wouldn't if he was just at the bar, wouldn't she have known? Like, oh, hey, you know. He would have told her, like, oh, I'm going to the bar to hang out tonight with my friends. Somebody's birthday. You know, it's no big deal.
True. That's true.
Hey, so what's the were they together?
They've been dating for a year, yeah.
I was just saying, were they together when he was at the club?
Yeah.
Who, the cousin?
Yeah, was it something that happened in the cousin?
Because see, I was thinking the cousin saw him before they met.
Yeah.
No. They were together.
Oh, that changes things.
Yeah, that kind of
wait. In the conversation, like, yo, babe, I'm.
All I feel is like, if it was no big deal, then why she didn't know?
Yeah,
he was at the bar?
still because my coworker at the time, I could. Well, I'm going to George's birthday party. Okay, and she don't know George is gay.
Yeah.
So I mean, I need more because he could have been dancing and the gay dude could be. I see you out there dancing.
With your little almond eyes.
We already know how that goes.
On that note, I mean, I want to thank everybody
for dancing harder.
Wait, I got one more question. So he was in the club. Did he have a straw in the cup?
Hey, I'm muting Rob. Rob has been muted, y'all. I'm muting Rob.
Hey, Mars, like this.
Now I'm mute Quincy.
Now I'm mute Quincy. And a banana. So now we know.
Now I gotta mute Quincy and Mars. Hey man, we want to thank everybody for joining us and watching Uncouth Radio. Thank everybody. Hey, if you know people who need to know about those props, make sure you share the show so they can get up on their props and know what's going on with the props and everything else that we talked about. We'll see you guys next Wednesday.
Wait. Make sure if you need any voter registration information, go to vote.org. It'll tell you everything you need to know. When early voting in California, I think it's already started. I turned in my ballot in a valid mail, a drop slot in Norwalk. The Norwalk place, do not be putting them in those Republican ones that they did to try to steal your ballots. Valid. Check it, make sure, go walk, do whatever. If you're going to wait in lines, get you some snacks. Do what you got to do, but they say they're having some high turnout, so y'all, we might be looking at some real historic numbers.
One more thing, also with the voting,
we love that you love the show.
Yeah, thank you, Robin.
Any ballots in which you're receiving, if there's any mark on them whatsoever, request a new ballot because your ballot could be disqualified if there's any type of marking on it.
Yeah. So they doing anything to disqualify ballots, guys.
Remember, 2 stamps. If you're mailing it, if you're dropping it off, you don't need to put a stamp. Make sure it's in the envelope and then in the envelope. All those things. Make sure read the directions, sign, use blue or black ink. All that stuff. Pretty easy if you're doing absentee.
Sure, your name is signed.
I know some people are doing absentee, so.
And one more thing. There's a couple of Senate seats. Like I brought it up, Jamie Harrison. Jamie Harrison has raised over $57 million running for the South Carolina Senate seat. The majority of his money had came from people out of state. So don't think just because you're in another state, you can't help a black man running for the Senate seat in North Carolina.
Or a black woman, because we help Ann Lambert too.
Yeah. There's another black man down in Mississippi. I can't remember his first name. I think his last name is Espy. He's trying to be the first black senator in Mississippi history. His race is close.
Atlanta.
Look, that extra $5, $10, whatever you could donate. Look out, but trust me, if we really want to make moves, we have to know how the system works. And we just can't vote for the president. We have to have the president, the House, and we got to have the Senate to really make moves, because ain't no point in putting Joe Biden in office if you're going to have a House and a Senate that ain't going to pass nothing he's going to try to put through. So then we can't hold him accountable. We can hold him accountable if we give him the resources to pass bills that we're looking for and want. So Jamie Harrison, like I said, he got Lindsey Graham ass on the ropes right now. I mean, he's putting up one of the best campaigns I've seen. So don't think just because you live in a different state, you can't help black folks who's run. I wish I was more aware of this when Andrew Gilliam was running for governor in Florida and Stacey Abrams in Georgia.
We just don't see those ads, and we just don't. We're just also immersed now, thanks to Trump. If any good thing has come out of Trump, that's what it is.
That's true.
We got to try to get the right people into the Senate if we want laws and bills that's going to benefit us. Because whatever plan Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have, black agenda, that shit ain't passing through a Republican Senate. So, I mean, if you already see, they right now got a Supreme Court that they finna get passed so they could X out Obamacare. And what that's going to do, that's going to hurt all these black folks. We talk about dialysis, people that got diabetes, people, my mom, breast cancer survivors, COVID, all the black people that got COVID, all these folks. That's why I was so turned off when Ice Cube said, well, you know, black people make it through anything. Another 4 years of Trump won't hurt. It's going to hurt them people who got pre-existing conditions because they won't have health care. So just locally, think locally, but just not, you could pay attention to other races and help other races because
it affects us. Ultimately, they all affect us. And again, we did go over the propositions, but remember, cities, local counties, all you guys have different measures. I know LA County is voting for like a lot of judges now. Look at those. Like we were mentioning, some of them are not qualified. There's information on that. So if you guys really want to make, you know, your 1 and 2 and 3 votes and those counts with your family and discussion, make sure you look that up because they're really, really important. But thank you guys for hanging out with us, hanging in there with us. We always have a good time bringing this information because we know we've looked it up, we've researched, we're discussing it so you guys can have the information, and hopefully we have a really good turnout on November 3rd. A really good outcome, I should say.
Yeah. 5 million people have already voted in Texas.
Yeah.
They're up to 7 million early voters, they said. So get out there and try to early vote because we want to make sure. I told my sister, I said, I know it's not possible, but I want that fool to have like 1 electoral college vote. Like, I don't know how. Like, I just want him to be humiliated. Like, just 1. Not 0, like 1. Like, I want him to have 1.
Hey, because if it's close, he gonna steal that shit.
Yep, he gonna try to steal it. We need it to be a landslide. So let's get with it, y'all. Do our best. Get the word out. Next week.
And stop spreading false information.
Please.
All right, Uncle Radio, we are out. We'll see y'all. Because I just read a post where somebody was talking about how much Kamala Harris was behind the death penalty. I'm like, she was never for the death penalty. Like, you just shared a whole bunch of just lies, and people really on there like, oh my God, I'm crying. I can't believe they did all this. And it's lies. That's fucking crazy. All right, Uncle Radio, we'll see y'all next Wednesday. And if there's anything y'all want to talk about, like Chandra said, DM any one of us on the show, and we'll make sure we try to add it to our
like
top list.
relevant show information, not like pervy stuff.